He's a chiropractor in Biddeford. He's actually taking good care of my wife and his receptionist, secretary, Tara. I think I said that wrong.
All right. This would be really special for me if you guys didn't have to be here, right? You guys have to be here, right? You guys would just show up while you come just to hear me speak if you didn't have to? We were watching and we were noticing that the people that first came all sat in the back row, so I know you guys were all right. So, when I do my talks, I usually like to have a little bit of participation just to keep you guys awake. So, first question I'm going to ask of all of you is to, if you would please, just raise your hand if you feel today that you're healthier than you were 5 years ago. Okay? Now, that's good. Probably about, what, 10% of you? Can I have somebody volunteer who raise their hand what they're doing differently now that they weren't doing 5 years ago? Exercise? Eating right? Good. Anybody else? So the title of the talk today was Health by Choice, Not by Chance. And, most people think that their genes, or how their parents and their grandparents were, really has to do a lot with how healthy they are. So they put a lot of it on genetic stuff, which really isn't the case. Health is actually something that's a choice, just like success or wealth is definitely a choice as well. And one of the things that we're going to share with you is, I'm a chiropractor, and there's many different kinds of chiropractors. And I'm probably one of maybe 5 or 6 in the whole state of Maine that practices using the principles that I'm going to share with you today. And so we're going to go over some health laws and some health principles that I hope you guys can put to use. Because chiropractic is not just about, cracking necks and backs and getting rid of headaches and stuff like that. It's much more powerful than that. And we use health laws. And if you know what a law is, like a law of gravity, if I pick up this Snapple bottle, if you don't mind, and I let go of it, where's it going to go?
He might mind.
It's always going to drop, right? So there's health laws too. We call them the chiropractic principle, which is really simply your body is designed to self-heal and self-regulate, and healing always comes from within. Okay? And we know this. If you've ever cut yourself, you know over a certain period of time, a matter of 3 or 4 days, that cut will heal. Right? One of the things I want to share with you is that you have life within your body. You have a spirit within your body. Okay? If we were to take 2 people, one fully alive and the next person a corpse, they both have the same body parts. Would you agree with that? Okay? So what if I were to take to that corpse and take a serrated knife and cut that corpse? About how long would it take for that cut to heal? It wouldn't heal. But if I did it to the live person, we would expect within a week or so for that to heal, right? So what we're talking about when we're talking about health and healing is life. And where does life come from? From within. And what controls our body?
Brain.
Charlie said the brain. Your brain's part of the nervous system. That's what chiropractic's really about. It's really about maximizing the communication between your brain and your body. You can't do anything without your nervous system. You wouldn't be able to taste the food you're enjoying right now without your nervous system. You wouldn't be able to listen to the words that are coming out of my mouth without your nervous system. So chiropractic is really about maximizing the life expression from a brain cell to a tissue cell. Okay? Does that make sense? So when we're looking at the nerve system, it's pretty unique in design. Okay? Our creator, God, is it okay if I mention God in this room? Okay? Designed us not with extra body parts. Okay? Designed us not with lipitor deficiencies. Okay? People don't get sick from a lack of medication. So how do they get healthy? By taking medication. Okay? All healing comes from within. And the role of the chiropractor is really to take care of that nerve system that's completely surrounded and protected by bone. There isn't any other system in your body that has the amount of protection of your nerve system. That's because our Creator knows how vital it is to make sure that that's well protected. So, what do we have to protect our brain? Skull. So what do you suppose the role of the spinal bones are? To protect your spinal cord. There's a new Superman movie that's out. Is it out yet?
No.
Tomorrow. See, everybody knows that. What happened to the original Superman, Christopher Reeve? Does anybody remember?
Spinal cord injury?
Spinal cord injury. Fell off a horse. Fractured his C2, his second neck bone, during that impact. But that wasn't what caused the problem. The problem was when they lifted him out of the muck, part of that spinal bone interfered with his nervous system, and what happened from there down? Paralyzed. Okay? Anybody remember how he died? From an infected bed sore. So when you're paralyzed, you have to be moved a lot so you don't get bed sores. So very easily treatable infection took out Superman. That's because your nerve system also controls your immune system. Anybody in here have kids? Some folks have kids. How important is it to you as a parent that your child's immune system is functioning at 100%? Is that important to you? So if we understand how the body works, we better make sure that the nerve system's functioning at 100%. Okay? In our office, about 30% of our practice members are underneath the age of 12. And they don't come in with sciatica. Okay? They come in because their parents understand how the body works, just like I explained to you. And they want to make sure that there's no nerve interference. Okay? They want to make sure that their nerve flow is fully maximized. When we have a situation in which the bones of the spine are putting pressure on your nerve system, that creates an interference, and then what happens? Okay, anybody else? Numbness? So we got pain and numbness.
Disease.
Disease, who said that? Wow. Do you go to a chiropractor?
I've been.
So most people, only about 10% of your nerve system perceives pain. And pain is really just your body's way of alerting you that you have a health concern, not necessarily a back concern. It's like a smoke detector going on in your house. Now it'd be really, really foolish for you to go over to your smoke detector and take out that 9-volt battery and continue surfing the internet. You better get out of there. So pain's really just a signal, it's a symptom, okay? Your body has an inborn wisdom, okay? You don't have to think about your heart beating right now. You can rest assured that it's going to beat, right? Okay? So there's a power within you that controls that process through the nerve system. And it knows that in order to get your attention to change the direction of your health around, it's going to have to shoot off some pain signals, or numbness, whoever said numbness. That's really a symptom to alert you that something's going on. And it's really your body's attempt to heal and survive. That's the purpose of that, okay? The number one thing that the spirit within, the life within, the innate intelligence within is make sure that you survive. That's its number one concern. Okay? The other thing that it's going to do is it's going to allow you to adapt. If we were to go out in the middle of winter without a coat on, what would happen? Shiver. You'd shiver. And what's the purpose of shivering? To increase your body heat, right? Conversely, if you were to go out in the middle of the summer when it's 110 degrees out, you would sweat. And the purpose of sweat is to cool you off. Your body knows this. So the second thing, the spirit within, or the innate intelligence within you, is to allow you to adapt. Okay? The third thing that your body does is what we call replication. So every single minute, how long have I been talking? 10 minutes? Every single minute, you're replacing 2.5 million cells. And you don't have to think about making one of them. Do we have any moms in the room? Yeah? How many kids do you have?
Just one.
Just one. Okay, so during that pregnancy, did you have to think about making the eyeballs 1 month and the nose here? Thank goodness we don't have to think about that. So that's that power within that created, out of 2 cells in about 280 days, it formed literally trillions of cells. And they weren't all the same cells. They differentiated into eyeballs and eyelashes and hearts and lungs and all that stuff, and you didn't have to think about one of those things. So we got the brightest minds in the world today. Okay, in the United States, we have the best medical schools. We have the most medical equipment, right? We spend about $2.7 trillion in the United States in health care. You guys are here because it helps you at some point hopefully lower your health insurance premium. I don't know if I understand the program enough, right? And what is health insurance? Is it really about health? I just want to change your thinking over the next 20 or 30 minutes. Health insurance is really disease management insurance. It's like your car insurance, right? Your car insurance doesn't pay for you to get oil changes or fill your gas tank or change the air filter or rotate the tires, does it? Same thing with your health insurance. If your health insurance had anything to do with health, it would pay for good food, maybe a nutritionist, your gym membership, massage, yoga, all those things. So health is a choice. You need to do some things about that. Let me go back to replication for a minute. We talked about your body is replacing about 2.5 million cells per minute. Now every cell has a certain life expectancy, if you will. Even disease cells in your body have a life expectancy. So a heart cell might last 90 days. So when that cell gets replaced, how do we ensure that that cell that's replacing it is healthy and vital? You better have a clear nerve pathway. Okay? During that cell replication process, if you're producing abnormal cells, and you're still producing abnormal cells, and you continue to produce abnormal cells, then we get disease. So we have the ability to change that around. We've got to make sure that our brain's able to communicate with every single tissue cell in your body without any interference. That way, during that replication process, we know that we're producing healthy cells, not poor cells. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. What else does your body do? We talked about survival, we talked about adaptation, we talked about replication, reproduction. One of the purposes of life is to prolong life. So we had a practice member about 7 or 8 months ago that came to us as a referral, as most of our practice members do, and she had spent about $15,000 to $18,000 trying to get pregnant. And within about 60 days, chiropractic care, she got pregnant. Now, do I have a
Listen, my wife.
Thanks for clarification. So do we have a special infertility adjustment? No. Chiropractors don't treat disease. They don't diagnose. Really what they do is help maximize that inborn healing potential. So after a few adjustments, we cleared out her nerve system and her body worked better, and she was able to get pregnant. And she is expecting, I think, in July, coming up, 4 weeks. So what a gift to her, right? She was 37. So that was very important for her. Okay, and there's some moms out there who probably would agree with that. She's 37 years old and wanted to have her first child, now she's able to do that. I don't have an asthma adjustment either. We had a practice member that she had to make sure she had her inhaler in her pocket walking out to the end of the driveway to get the mail because she was always in fear of having an asthma attack. She couldn't enjoy her life when she was 22. Now she rides her bike 3 miles without her inhaler. I don't have a special asthma adjustment. When the body works better, it's able to adapt better. This time of year, a lot of pollen in the air, right? Anybody have any allergies? Does pollen bother you?
Yep.
Okay. So one of the things that we need to, is pollen really the issue? Or is it, we talked about adaptation, or is it your body's poor adaptation to the pollen that's the issue? Because pollen doesn't bother me. And maybe some of you, it doesn't bother you either. So it's really that person's body not adapting properly to that. Okay? So we talked about reproduction. The last thing that really your body's designed to do is heal, and that's the most important thing. Right? Healing always comes from within. If you're brought up like I was, and you know, when I was a kid and I had a fever, what did my mom give me? Baby aspirin or baby Motrin, or what's the purpose of a fever? Fight infections? Okay. Any campers out here? You go camping or? Let's say you go camping for a while, you run out of water. And you go down to the lake or the stream or the pond, and you scoop up a mason jar full of water. Would you drink it? No. What would you do first?
Boil it.
And why would you boil it?
Get rid of
It
the
goes back to your-
germs.
It's making me think to participate. Look at the participation here. It's great. So wouldn't it be awesome if our Creator understood that very same principle and gave us the ability, once an invading microorganism got into our body, to increase the inner body temperature so that we could get rid of the problem? And that's the purpose of the feed. But we don't think these things through. And my mom didn't know these principles. So what happens when you give the baby some baby Motrin and the medication wears off? What happens to your internal body temperature? Goes back up. Why? Because you've interrupted the natural healing process. And that's just a fever. What about, let's take another symptom, sneezing. Do you sneeze in or do you sneeze out? Out. So a lot of times we look at these symptoms and we think that somebody was sick. Like when you cough and you sneeze, that person's sick, right? Or is it your body's internal wisdom that realizes and understands that there's an invading system and it needs to get it out by any means necessary? Ooh, food poisoning. Sarah likes it when I talk about it. We had, anybody go out to eat at Olive Garden at the Biddeford crossing there? Well, just rest assured, we went like the first week it was open, my wife and I. And we had lunch, and then for the next, let's see, 24 to 36 hours, stuff was coming out of places. It was just very uncomfortable. Okay. Now, let's just say our nervous systems was in. Let's backtrack. Let's say that immediately once those symptoms started, that we both went to the emergency room. What do you think we would be given? Something to keep us from throwing up, and something to stop us from. And then what? So what would happen? We would trap that foodborne illness inside of our bodies, but we would feel better, wouldn't we? Certainly better than staying in the bathroom or going to the bathroom every minute and a half. We would feel better, but what's happening inside? I think with this group we should have used the alcohol poisoning. That's really a life-saving event, right? You have too much to drink, and you get it all out of your body, otherwise you might die. So I hope what I'm trying to get across here is that the very best doctor in the world is the doctor within, that knows what to do in any given circumstance in order for you to survive and heal from within. Okay? Now, what else do we want to cover? Aha. So we talked about the interference in your spine. There's a name for that. Does anybody know the name? When there's a bone out of place, irritating the messages between the brain and the tissue cell? Anybody know what that condition is called?
Subluxation.
Subluxation. You get the gold star of the day. Subluxation. When does the first subluxation start? When do you suppose?
Squeeze through the opening to come out as a baby.
Charlie. Charlie, you just gained some major points. The birth process. Birth is traumatic. Is it not?
Yeah.
You don't remember.
Trust me.
You don't remember. You were a problem, but now you're no longer a problem. No.
Debatable point.
So I have. That's a good group. That's a good group, Charlie. I have 3 kids, 7, 5, and 2. Our 7-year-old was born in the hospital. Very medical in nature. Okay? And wasn't a very good experience. Our second one was also born in the hospital over at Mercy in the birthing suite, and we had a water birth. And our third child was born at home. So I don't know if there's another way to do it. C-section, but we didn't have to do that. Okay? But the process, and I was there obviously for all 3, the process of being born is very, very traumatic. Okay? The baby's head down. We have a lot of medical assisted deliveries in the United States. Okay? Not so much in other countries. But and we'd like to assist the mom. And to be fair, if I had to give birth to a baby, I'd want that yanked out as fast as possible too. But It's very damaging to the upper part of the neck. What they do as the baby's head comes out is they have to twist the neck and help the shoulders rotate to get out of the birth canal. Okay? And they twist not 90 degrees, which is normal range of motion, but 135 degrees. So if you can imagine my chin going another 45 degrees. That's to get one shoulder out. And they twist the other side to get the other shoulder out, same degrees. And it's about 100 pounds force. Now, if I were to hand you a newborn, what would you want to make sure you do?
Hold the head.
Support the head. Why?
It's so heavy on
It's
there.
so heavy, and the neck muscles haven't developed yet, right? So there's very little protection. That's why they're really able to twist as much as they do when they assist in the birth process. But guess what? Could that create the first subluxation? So in our office, we make the recommendation to check a newborn within 12 hours. Very important. Doesn't it make sense if the nerve system does control everything, that we ensure right from the get-go that that person's nerve system's free and clear of any interference? Does that make sense? What percentage do you think of newborns born in the United States get their upper neck evaluated by a chiropractor? 2%? Really low. Why?
Education. probably.
Education. We're not taught that, right? Super, super important. So one of the things that's very valuable is our time, right? And I know you guys are kind of forced to be here, but you know, we give up time from our office and our family to come here and share some information with you. But our mission is really to get this information and education out there to as many people as we possibly can, so that we can help these kids. Because there's never been in the history of the world where kids have been more sick. The kids born today are projected to live less than their parents. First time in history. We've had kids on more medication than ever before. Kids with more vaccinations than ever before. By the time they reach the age of 18, they've received 68 shots.
Must be Obamacare.
Say that again?
Must be because of Obamacare.
Obamacare. That's
No.
scary. So if God really doesn't make junk, and we're not born with extra body parts, and we're born to self-heal and self-regulate, and we're born with perfectly adequate immune systems, and if we truly understand that the health is an inside-out process, why are we doing all the outside-in things? It's disease management. And if we're spending $2.7 trillion a year, and is that number going up or going down? Up. Now, if we look at what takes most American lives, it's heart disease and cancer. Are those two particular conditions going up or down? Up. Diabetes, going up or going down? Up. Infectious disease, going up or going down? Iatrogenic, that's a big word. You guys must know some information about iatrogenic illnesses, where you actually acquire something through medical care. Going up or going down? Up. $2.7 trillion, that's a lot of money for a system that is not working, right? That's another purpose of us being here today, is to share some education, because really, health is a choice, and it's up to you. My mom, January 3rd of this year, passed away at the age of 60. 60 years old. She was on 17 medications. That's what really drove me into chiropractic, was getting up in the morning and eating my Fruity Pebbles, because my mom knew all about health. And I'd watch her kind of divvy up her little pill boxes with the morning, the lunch, the afternoon, and the evening medications. She'd line them all up. And it really bothered me as a kid, because you would think taking that amount of medication, going to the doctor probably 5 or 6 times a month, that she should probably be the healthiest person. Now, this is not aimed at talking negative about the medical profession, because who's in charge of that? Is her doctor in charge of that, or is she? She blamed her genes. And I told you before, health is a choice. It's not by chance. You're not lucky to be healthy. People work at it. Okay? But guess what? She had heart disease. She had diabetes. Guess what her mom and dad had? Heart disease and diabetes. Guess what her grandmother had? Heart disease, diabetes. I remember seeing a picture of her sitting next to my Nana, my great-grandmother, and she was in a wheelchair and she had her leg amputated from the knee down for poorly controlled diabetes. Is diabetes reversible?
Type 2, yes.
Type 2, yes. Absolutely. Is heart disease reversible?
Yes.
Is cancer reversible?
Yes.
Yes. How many people would say yes, though, if you were to ask the general population? If we understand that one of those 5 signs of what your body does is to replace and replicate cells, don't you have the ability for those cancer cells to deteriorate and be replaced by a healthy cell? The answer is yes, but most people think that cancer makes you sick, when in fact it's being in such a sick body that produces cancer. That's 100% reversible. So if we look at heart disease and cancer and diabetes, the top 3 killers in the United States, they're all reversible. It's all lifestyle choices, isn't it? You started eating well. Was there any kind of a health episode that you had that kind of motivates you to do that?
Obesity.
Obesity? So have you lost, how much weight have you lost? I hate to put you on the spot, but
Quite a bit. Pretty close to 40 pounds.
40 pounds. And do you think that's going to have a dramatic improvement to your health and your life? So I have a sister, and I have a dad. Of course, I already showed a story about my mom, but I'm the only person in my family that's under the 200 pounds. I'm also the tallest by about 4 inches. So if I were to blame my genes like my mom did, I would just be very passive in my health care, and what would ultimately happen to me maybe 10, 15, 20 years down the road: heart disease, diabetes, obesity. Realize that the power is really within you, okay? And if we're spending $2.7 trillion in the United States for health care, and if we really took a good look at where health comes from, and we've made some very simple lifestyle modifications, that $2.7 trillion, if we actually got this information out there, should come down. Now, I know you guys are manufacturing some equipment, so you're probably hoping that, I think Charlie, you had mentioned you're just starting to get into the pharmaceutical.
Well, we've been in for about a couple of years now.
Couple of years. That industry, is that going up or going down? From a business standpoint, it's very intelligent, it's going up. Okay, but does health come in about? I read these research articles where they're trying to find cancer cures, and one of the nutritional supplements that was recommended was to take like shark cartilage or something, as if God would have the cure for cancer in the fin of a shark. Or these berries that grow on a 200-foot Amazon tree right at the very top that's just loaded with antioxidants, and if we could just get to those berries, that it would, save the world, right? So health doesn't come in a juice box, doesn't come in a pill, it comes from within. So it's very, the past 6 months of my life since my mom passed away has really kind of shifted me, okay? Realizing that it's important to share the information. There's a lot of people like my mom out there. So when I was a kid and I used to get off the bus and we had a really long dirt driveway, I would always first look at the window that was facing the road. And if that shade was down, I knew I was in trouble, because she also suffered from debilitating migraine headaches. And she would have 2 or 3 a week. And I knew if the shade was down, to really just put my backpack on the porch and just go out and play until the shade comes up, because I know she'd be willing to have me come in and raise hell again. But that's what my childhood was like. Now, she went in 1976 to her medical doctor and said, listen, I'm having these migraine headaches. I'm really not liking taking all this medication. And my friend goes and sees a chiropractor. Can you refer me to a chiropractor? What did her medical doctor say in 1976? Crazy, right? Don't do that. They're witch doctors. Don't let them touch you now. So for 28 years, she did that. 2 or 3 times a week, she would be out cold, couldn't hold a job. She'd always call out sick, never had a full-time job. And then she got her first adjustment in 2004. Guess when I graduated from chiropractic school? 2004. Guess how many migraines she had after that? Huh. Do you think that would have been valuable for her in 1976? So that's what really drives our office. Okay? There's people out there, maybe even some people in this room. Maybe some people in here have some wives or a kid that's sick. The information really, really needs to be shared, and it's really important. Because if I were to ask you guys, what does a chiropractor do, and why would you go see one, what would most people say? Bone cracking. We have a poster up in our office that says, eggs get cracked, I get adjusted, there's a big difference, and it's a picture of a little baby. People think it's just a cracking thing, right? So if somebody says crack in our office, they get a little handout. It's very important. Because if you were to go to my office, and you got a great adjustment, and then you went home and you told your son, I don't know if you have a son or not, and you say, hey, I went to go see Paul and he cracked my neck. What do you probably scare that person from ever going to a chiropractor again, right? When in fact, the adjustment process is a very gentle, specific process. Do you hear noise? Yeah, sometimes you do. Is it painful? Somebody's nodding. Should not be painful. If you're very, very precise, which we do in chiropractic, which is different from manipulation. Anybody been manipulated before? A lot of osteopaths in this area with the UNE school. An osteopathic manipulation is very, the intent is really just to free up fixation, get things moving better. And if we go back to the history of osteopathy back in 1890 something, it was to improve blood flow. It was much more to, their thought process was the integrity of the blood flow was an important thing, and that's why they did manipulations. But it's really just to free up a stuck joint. When we do a chiropractic adjustment, it's very specific, scientific. So we check every single bone in the spine, not just the parts that hurt. Okay? We take pictures of the spine because if we're going to move a bone, we need to know how to move it. And then we do a computerized nerve scan. We want to touch your nerve system. And the nerve scan goes throughout your entire spine, and it picks up precisely which bone in the spine is interfering with your brain's ability to get the message out. That's important information to know, right? Okay. Based on that information, now we know where's the problem. Where's the miscommunication happening? And then we apply a very specific force with the intent not just to free it up and getting it to move better, but to get pressure off your nerve system to restore the brain-body communication so that you can function at a much higher level. When I ask you to define, let me ask somebody to define health for me. This is part of your wellness. Right? Wellness is a very interesting word too. But if I were to ask you to define health, is anybody brave enough to give me a definition of health? Nobody. When I ask that in my office, when people get oriented, we have an orientation twice a week at our office. And I throw that question out there, and most people say it's when you feel it, right? Or the absence of symptoms. There is no medical literature that defines health as feeling good or the absence of symptoms. What health really is your ability to function at 100%. Okay? So health is really function, not how you feel. And if we look at heart disease, #1 killer in the United States, the first symptom of heart disease is what? Heart attack. And 50% of first heart attacks are fatal. I think I'm starting to lose them.
Yeah.
So do we want to wait until we get a symptom of heart disease? So health is really function. Billy Joel, is he good at playing the piano? Very good. And if you were to ask him to play Piano Man at any given moment, he'd be able to play it flawlessly. Would you guys agree? Let's say I invited him in this room to play Piano Man for us. We'd have a lot more people in here, maybe. But just before he was about to play, I went in there and I messed around with the strings inside the piano and then had him give his performance. And he hit every single note precisely. Everything was flawless in his performance. But how would it sound? Well, not very good, right? Same thing with our health, okay? Health is really function. And what controls the function of every single thing you do? Your nerves. So doesn't it make sense that you should have your nerve system evaluated? It makes sense. But not, I'm going to end, I got a couple more minutes? Couple. Perfect. I'm going to end with this. Not every chiropractor is the same. And there's really some things you guys, if you're at all interested in turning the direction of your health around, and you would like to see a chiropractor, they're not all the same, okay? And that's because, and that's not a bad thing. All of you are not the same. People have different values. Some people just simply want to get out of pain. That's it. There's a chiropractor for you for that, okay? Some people want help at every available level to them. That's what I do, okay? So if you have there's sports injury chiropractors, there's automobile accident chiropractors. You go when you're in pain, and you stop going when you're out of pain. And then when the cycle repeats itself later on down the road, you go back. Okay, so what you really want to look for in a chiropractor is one that understands the principles that I've shared with you this afternoon. Okay, you want to make sure that they can take care of kids. That's important. Now, kids fight to get on the chiropractic table. It's the big burly guys like that they're scared to get adjusted. And then I make them watch them adjusted anymore, and then they're fine after that. But make sure that they take care of kids. Okay? Make sure that they don't do any therapy in the office. Why? That's the treating the symptoms. That's no different than going to your medical doctor, or your physical therapist, or your osteopath, or your acupuncturist, or your homeopath, or your naturopath. Do you realize that chiropractic is really the only healthcare system that doesn't treat, diagnose, or cure anything, but instead reconnects you to the life within? It's the only one. Every single other healthcare profession out there is designed to treat your symptoms. Okay? So make sure they don't do any therapies. I gotta tell you, physical therapists are phenomenal now. They're great. They're great at what they do. Physical therapy actually got started, branched off from chiropractic, because chiropractors started getting into physical therapy and stuff that plugs into walls and all that other stuff. And physical therapists took that and ran with it, and I'm glad they did. But some chiropractors still do that, not understanding that healing comes from within. So there's plenty of people out there to take care of your pain. Okay? So make sure they don't do any therapies. Let's do it. Take care of kids. Make sure they don't do any therapies. And what else, Tara? Subluxation. Make sure they understand subluxation. There's some that just want to move a bone. And do I move a bone when I do an adjustment? Yeah, but the intent is to work with that doctor with them. So make sure that they address subluxations. Make sure that they have programs available for you to do it as often as you need it.
Your family.
Make sure they take care of your entire family. Good. See, that's why I have her right. Make sure they're a family chiropractor. Very, very important. When I started talking to you, I know I got about 30 seconds left, I told you there's about 5 or 6 chiropractors in the entire state of Maine that practice like I do. Okay? If you need to find a chiropractor, please, we have cards up here, call us, email us, we can make a recommendation. Our office is in Biddeford. There's a great family practice in Kennebunk. There's a good practice in Portsmouth. They're really, really, really hard to find. Okay, so if you have any questions, feel free to call or email. What do you think, Charlie? Do we have time for any questions, or are we done?
We ask for questions, why not?
They're really engaged. Anybody have any questions?
They got one over there.
We got the post lunchtime nap kind of feeling. Yeah.
Cancel that.
You should complete your physical, and then you should come see us.
If you wanted the political correct answer, you ask Tara. If you want it cut and dry, I'll answer that question, and I'm not shy about it, but yeah, do what she says. Any other questions?
Did they tell you if our insurance covers that?
It covers some of it.
Yes, it does.
And how does it cover it? For disease management, right? So if you have insurance in the state of Maine, they have to have some sort of chiropractic benefit. And at the minimum, it's usually, I think, 12 visits per calendar year. But it has to be attached to a diagnosis. And once you're out of pain, guess what? The insurance doesn't pay anymore. And how often should you just go to the chiropractor or go do things for your health just based on what your health insurance covers?
Yes,
Health insurance has as much to do about health as life insurance has to do about your life. If you really rely on your health insurance to get you where you need to go, you better have very good life insurance. It's really in your hands. It's really in your hands. Be active, eat right, exercise, have a spiritual connection, meditate, get your nervous system checked. It's really obvious what we need to do in order to be healthy, and that's the choice is really up to you guys. I hope you learned some stuff. I appreciate you having me, and have a good rest of the day.
Thank you.